Hello, everybody. Sani here, engineer, MBA, and investor. And in today's video, I want to talk about why yesterday, on Friday, I bought for the first time ever Beam Therapeutics. So I am now officially a shareholder of this company, Beam Therapeutics, biotech company, CRISPR genome editing company. I want to talk about all of this in this video, why I did so, why I did not buy Beam Therapeutics in spite in spite of covering this company for the past months. So first of all, let me just clear up some things here, guys. First of all, I'm always in here for the long term. Okay, whenever I talk about investments, whenever I talk about these companies, whether that's in biotech, genome editing, CRISPR specifically, or even it could be about Tesla, it could be just about Bitcoin or other assets. I always talk about big long term. I always talk about holding for the long term. I always talk about looking at the long term horizon, right? I am not a day trader, fortunately or for unfortunately, depending on how you see it. And I and many people in this community, we do not believe that day trading is our stick. And therefore, what we do is we research very hard, we build conviction, and then we ultimately invest in companies we believe in, we support, and we believe that could be 10x, 50x, and potentially 100x in the upcoming years. So, the key point there I mentioned here is that I build conviction, right? And for Beam Therapeutics, my problem, and honestly, I still have this problem about this company. So it's not like my problem was like just, disappeared, right? My problem with this company was that they never filed for any IND filing. And I understand the arguments that, that wasn't their bread and butter. It was more the partnerships, their technologies, the fact they could patent, they held certain patents and they licensed their technologies to other companies such as Verve Therapeutics, which will cover Prime Edison, which will cover as well, and so on, and obviously potentially Moderna as well. That we may are speculating that maybe building a partnership with Beam Therapeutics or another CRISPR company. I just never really felt like I wanted to invest in a company where they didn't necessarily have any IND filings, where newer companies like Graphite Bio, Verve Therapeutics, even Caribou Biosciences, which is not a newer company, but as they went public, they dosed their first patient, which means obviously they filed their IND a while ago. The papers, in fact, months ago. So to me, it just felt like they were sort of, staying behind with the whole pipeline. And again, you may have your reasons, and I understand it. There's, why do you want to take that route just because other companies are doing it? You're already building like this platform, which is what, that's a playbook from Moderna, that's a playbook from Ginkgo Bioworks, that's a playbook from even Caribou Biosciences, I would argue. But that's another topic for another day. My point is that the one of the reasons why I was never really a big fan of Beam Therapeutics, despite covering this company. If you watch our previous video, our older videos, you'll see Beam Therapeutics was the third company I covered. CRISPR Therapeutics was the first, Intellia was the second. Beam Therapeutics was the third company I covered back in March earlier this year. So I knew about this company and I understood exactly what they did. I just was never a fan of this, the whole not filing for IND, the whole being, their pipeline. I look at pipelines, I look at I just don't just look at the tech. I also look at where they are right now as a company. But as time went on, obviously opinions changed, my stand changed, and that's part of the game. That's part of the investment game. You have to be open minded. You have to keep learning, and ultimately, you have to pull the trigger. Right? It's not like I can't just stay in the sidelines and just keep saying, "Oh, this will be a great company one day." And I won't be investing in it. I truly believe, and I still believe at the time that a few months ago when I was covering this company, that they are a revolutionary company, just like other companies, right, in this space. And another reason, and I'll stop with the negativity there and start digging into the deep weeds here, give you guys a little bit of insight about Beam Therapeutics. One of the other reason that sort of threw me off with this company, and this is something I've covered in this channel, and I know a lot of people don't want to talk about this because it doesn't really apply to biotech, genome editing, CRISPR companies. It actually applies to every single asset, stocks, Bitcoin, doesn't matter what, even real estate, right? Is that people love to hype things that they own, right? It's just human nature, right? If you own a piece of art, you're always going to talk about this piece of art to your friends, your family, to your investors, because you want to feel good about it, one. And two, ultimately, whether you want to admit it or not, you want to propel the value upwards, right? So it's the same concept with real estate, same concept with Bitcoin, right? A lot of people are skeptics of Bitcoin because they believe, a lot of skeptics believe that many of the Bitcoin holders, bought in Bitcoin very early on. They saw multiple X, and now they want to see a couple of X more, right? So what they do is they push that narrative to viewers, to people around social media. Bitcoin is the future. Bitcoin is the future. We actually believe Bitcoin is the future, especially with the Lightning Network. But again, I'm sort of derailing here. My point here is coming back to Beam Therapeutics. I saw a lot of this. Okay, I saw a lot of people that are non-biotech people, non-scientists, non-doctors, non-researchers, non-engineers, just basically stock traders, day traders, right? And they were pushing this company out of every other company, right? They never mentioned Caribou Biosciences. No one mentions Antilia up until like earlier, like few weeks ago when they released their data. CRISPR Therapeutics, Editas, all these stock traders, day traders, they kept mentioning Beam Therapeutics, and to me, it's because they bought in early, right? And I know they did it because some of them even admitted it, right? They bought either near IPO, which was not even like I think it was a year and a half ago, not even that long ago, right? And I felt like a lot of people were sort of, holding on in the early times of Beam Therapeutics, and when their shares were valued like in the 20s, 30s, $40, and they saw multiple X since then, and they want to keep seeing multiple X. So what they do is they go on social media, on Reddit. On Reddit is notorious for this, by the way. On Reddit, if you pay attention to this, this is what I want you guys, if there's anything to take away from this video, is I want you guys to be attentive of what's the dynamics, right? Don't just buy a stock or a company because people are pushing hype for it. Perhaps there is hype, perhaps this company is revolutionary, perhaps there's something going on that most of us don't know, so we should be looking further. But perhaps also people bought in, and some of them are bag holding, and they're sort of wanting this company to have like a 2x, 3x, 4x, 5x, so they can sell out, right? So again, this does not apply to this company only. It applies to literally every single company out there, especially companies that have seen multiple X since then. So I just want you guys to be aware of this. I just want you guys to be aware of that dynamic. And ultimately, you do your own research, you build your own conviction, right? So I still believe this is the case, right? I still believe many people have bought in this company early on, and I still believe that this is still going on. But ultimately, which is what I'll be covering right now, the most important parts is why I believe I invest in this company officially yesterday. So obviously, their technology, to me, I've already talked about it. It's like the second generation of CRISPR. To me, the first generation of CRISPR, which is the likes of uh, Editas, CRISPR Therapeutics, and Tilia, if you want to include them in there. In the second generation of CRISPR, the technology, you have to put Beam Therapeutics there, right? What they're doing is base editing, their partnership with Prime Medicine, the fact they were able to license their tech, Beam Therapeutics, to Verve Therapeutics, which is a public company worth almost $2 billion last I checked. So they were worth over $2 billion a few weeks ago when there was a huge run up in the genome editing space. So the fact they're able to do this, their second generation technology, where they don't have to rely on cutting a DNA strand and then hoping for the best, right? The fact that they have a more efficient way of doing so. In fact, what they call it is a new class of precision genetic medicine, right? So the fact that they believe that it could, I believe, be more precise, more predictable, more efficient, high efficiency. I was listening to Dr. Haruni's podcast episode with the Pounding Table Stocks YouTube channel, and the host Dominique said, does efficiency really matter? And of course it matters, right? Of course it matters. There's companies literally out there worth $2 billion in this space because they're promising that there are less off targets and more efficiency, such as graphite bio, right? Which we cover in this channel. So Beam Therapeutics really, really are bullish about this technology, and we've covered this in channel, so there's nothing new here. What I'm saying here, what is interesting, and that's what things started getting, I started thinking a little bit more over the past weeks and months. And again, this, for me as an investor, I take time. I really do my research. I take my time. There's absolutely no rush. If you're in it for the long term, does it really matter that you bought it on March 2021 or in July 2021 or in August 2021? If you're in it for the 5, 8, 10 years, it really does not matter, guys. It really does not. Okay, if you're looking for the next decade, it does not matter if you bought it at $99 a share or at $120 a share, because you're looking at a potential. You're looking at a potential. If things go the way we believe in this channel will go, we're looking at a potential 20, 30, 50, 100x, guys. So it does not matter, guys. Always step back, look at the bigger picture, remind yourself what your investment philosophy is. Again, we don't provide financial advice. You guys do your own research, right? So look at your risk tolerance, do your own research, think about this really, really well, right? It's very important what I'm saying, right? So and in their financial updates, which we also covered, the quarterly updates, they reiterated that they will be filing for Beam I 101 for the second half of this year. We're already in the second half of this year, so look out for this in the upcoming weeks. Once they do this, I would be very, very happy. I want them to get their IND filings out. I want them obviously to get it accepted, and I want them to go through Beam 101 at least. At least they have their own drug in their own pipeline. Moderna is seen as this like software of life, like this platform, right? They only have one vaccine for the pandemic, right? At least they have that, right? So that's what I'm looking for in terms of like as a framework. But obviously, the business model is different. What Beam Therapeutics is doing with Verve and with Prime Medicine and with some of these other companies that they build partnerships over, which we'll see in shortly, to me is obviously triumphs what Moderna is getting in the long term. And obviously Moderna is worth like $150 billion at this point. Like it's just crazy, right? So that was their latest quarterly, and this was from their S1 filing. They reiterated that as of June, sorry, that they have a partnership with Prime Medicine, which is a private company, not a public company. They hold many, many shares. In fact, I believe they received additional 5 million shares in 2020. I can probably figure out the total number of shares here, but they do have, I guess, 5 million shares here, 5 million shares here. And yeah, so they have a couple of millions of shares in Prime Medicine, and obviously their partnership with Verve Therapeutics, which has been absolutely amazing for this company, for Beam Therapeutics, because it shows that their partnership is not just for private labs, for private companies, but also for public companies such as Verve, which Verve are doing an amazing job tackling cardiovascular diseases, which is the first type of disease, the major disease that hits all Americans the most in terms of percentage, in terms of numbers. Cardiovascular disease is the most likely to kill you basically in America if you look at the statistics. But it is what it is, guys. I love what Verve Therapeutics is doing, and therefore I love the partnership with Beam Therapeutics, right? Just think about future sales. I think their future sales, they own like 50% of the future commercial sales if there is a commercial FDA approved drug from Verve. So really, really interesting, right? So I'm looking here, guys. This is a podcast episode with the amazing Ali from Ark Invest, Ali Erman. Shout out to Ali, better. She's from Montreal. I know she works in New York now for Ark, but she actually comes from Montreal. So shout out to the fellow Montrealer. Which I think she went to Harvard, but anyways, sorry, McGill University, which is a huge university of Canada. It's actually the Harvard of Canada, but anyways. Um, so this episode was amazing, right? I listened to this podcast episode between Dr. David Liu, which is one of the co-founders of Beam Therapeutics and other companies, and so he's the one behind some of these technologies, including base editing. He's a big player in this field. People call him the Elon Musk of CRISPR. Personally, I think Jennifer Doudna is the Elon Musk, but anyways, This episode is amazing because Ali really goes deep with David here. Talks about base editing, prime editing, and there's a couple of key points here. We won't go over each of them, but David thoughts on how his potential application genome editing in agriculture, how the relationship between Beam Therapeutics and Prime Medicine, how they leverage technology and experience to bring prime editing to patients, some of the technical details there, and Davis sort of goes with the difference between base editing and prime editing. So amazing episode. Highly advise you guys to watch it. Ark Invest, the episode between Ali and David R. Liu. Amazing episode. I love what Ark Invest are doing in this space. I love what they're doing. They're promoting information. They're giving information to their existing investors, to future clients. I love what they're doing. Ultimately, I am not an investor in RG fund, which I've mentioned that in the past. If you're curious, watch our previous videos. But I love what they're doing. I hope they keep it up. I hope I see more interviews, more podcast episodes, more articles, more PDFs. I love reading what Ark Invest is doing. Ultimately, I got into this space because of Ark Invest, right? So shout out to Ark Invest. So I wanted to end this video, guys, a little bit more the commercial side of things, a little bit more technical. And Dr. Haruni here, he tweeted this, and this is again a quote here from their filing here that we just went over. But he said, "We are not." Beam Therapeutics said, as to their partnership with Prime Medicine, we are not currently using the intellectual property license from Prime Medicine in any of our current programs. However, we are required to use commercial reasonable effort to develop new product candidates using the IP license from Prime Medicine, and therefore intend to evaluate this gene editing technology in accordance with agreement with our Prime Medicine, and maybe future use of this technology in future product candidates, right? So really interesting what we're reading here. And then always Benny here, he said, you should have all highlighted the fact that being granted a non-exclusive license to Prime Medicine. In exchange, Prime Medicine granted an exclusive license to Beam Therapeutics. Awesome deal for Beam Therapeutics. Obviously, is awesome. You're giving something non-exclusive, which means it doesn't have to be only given to you, could be given to others, and in return you're getting something that's only given to you, right, from the company. So it's not even a fair partnership in some sense, right? It's not really 50-50. You're getting a leverage out of that, but obviously there are other factors to it. So big fan of Beam Therapeutics on that partnership. I think Prime Medicine will go public at some point. They're still a private company, and once they do go public, just like Verve, Beam Therapeutics will hold shares of this company. I will say something about holding shares. I know a lot of people, think of like basic math, right? They're like, well, if you own like 5 million shares, and if you go public, $50 a share, you do 5 million times 50, and this is assuming they don't sell, and then they'll be holding for years, and then it'll be worth billions and billions of dollars. Just again, I don't want to say you're wrong in that thinking. I just want to mention the fact that Toyota, I think it was Toyota or Mercedes, one of those two, Toyota or Mercedes, they own, I think, $1 billion worth of stock of Tesla in the early 2010s, right? Through a partnerships, to whatever it was, I think through investment, whatever. And they ended up selling it, right, in the mid 2010s, right? I think it was down 14, 15. They saw like a 3x. I think they saw like more than 3x, actually. I think they saw like a 5x return, which is huge, right, for a company of that. Like, we're talking about billions and billions of dollars. That's huge. But imagine if they held on since then, right? They would have made, I think the last time I calculated, they would have made like 200 or 300 billion dollars of return, right? Which is more than their market cap. Actually, it's more than every single legacy auto market cap combined, right? Obviously, Tesla is not in that group. It's not a legacy auto. It's not even an auto company at this point, right? Tesla bought. Anyways, watch our previous video if you want to know more about that. But my point here is that, although you want to get bullish about this, just don't forget, these companies have, their fiduciary duty to their shareholders, and you just got to remember that they have to explain every single investment, every single companies that they hold in investments, and they, a lot of investors will start questioning their board, a lot of question the leaderships to why you're not selling these stocks when they go public, or when you've already seen a 10x, 15x, so that they can, in their opinion, see it in being invested in other venues that may be returning other additional, right? Because there's a huge risk to holding 100 billions of dollars of shares in a single company, right? There's huge risk. And plus, again, they have fiduciary duty to their shareholders. Just food for thought, guys. Just don't forget about this. But again, amazing to see that. Great partnership. I think Prime Medicine is here. The Prime Medicine is sort of seen like a third generation tech in the CRISPR tech side of things. So first generation, second generation, third generation. So I really love what I'm seeing here from Beam Therapeutics on that partnership. And finally, here, this is from Anonymous Green. This guy's a huge Reddit guy. He's always on Reddit and different subreddits. But anyways, he posted, this beautiful, um, beautiful image here. Unfortunately, it's like low quality image, but basically, it's about all the Beam Therapeutics ecosystem, right? So all the partnerships they hold from different research papers that was published. So some of them you might recognize: Nature, Molecular Cell, Cell Report, a bunch of Nature Science publishers, magazines, and websites. So obviously, huge amount of technologies that Beam Therapeutics that can leverage, right, in terms of their magnitude, right? So you can see the amount of information Beam can acquire from all those users is staggering. So these partnerships, guys, they're both ways, right? Beam Therapeutics just don't give up their tech to companies, to private companies, to private labs, to research labs throughout the nation, throughout the world. They obviously receive data, they obviously receive updates, and ultimately, it's really important to have these partnerships, guys. Again, we always want to learn from other industries, from other verticals, because that's how we learn. That's how we can apply frameworks and sort of make sense of the information we're given, right? In reality, without going too philosophical on you guys, in reality, we always do that, right? Whenever we're giving new information, we try to make parallels with what we already know, right? Our past experience, our past culture, past knowledge, existing knowledge, right? And for example, Tesla has amazing partnerships with different universities such as UCLA, such as there's one university in the eastern part of Canada, Nova Scotia, I believe. I forgot their university name is slipping me, but it's like that partnership with batteries. And you want to have those partnerships with private labs, private research labs, because ultimately it's data, it's information. You want to build upon that, and especially in biotech, especially in CRISPR, especially in genome editing, you want to build those partnerships, whether that's with public companies, which we shareholders love, right? We want to see a big pharma company like Moderna build that partnership with either Beam Therapeutics, Kaibu Sciences, so on. But then you can have look at all these research papers, building those data for you, and then you can build that for the company ultimately, right, long term. So Beam Therapeutics have their tentacles a little bit everywhere. I love what I'm seeing here. Their technology is being used by the best of the best around the world, in US, in different universities. These are researchers, scientists that want to achieve whatever their thesis is, whatever their research papers are on. And even Tommy here mentioned this. So, and I'm just going to reiterate it here that it shows that different laboratories around the world who make use of being fully owned base editing technology, right? So I'm going to end this video like this, guys, with this graph, with this image. And I just want to reiterate that, you have to be open-minded in investing. This is how you win long term. And I also want to say one last thing is that you never want to bet against technology, right? You never want to get bets against technology, but ultimately you want the leadership to execute. The CEO John, he is definitely one person. I've seen his interviews. Maybe I'll make a video covering one of these interviews that I really loved recently. I watched, and I just love the way he speaks. I love his genuine care for the space, for the company, and ultimately for the future of humanity. I see parallels with CRISPR Therapeutics, Dr. Sam, CEO, which unfortunately we haven't heard so much of him recently. I really do hope CRISPR Therapeutics get back on track, by the way. But that's another topic for another day. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Do like this video if you found value. If you haven't subscribed, guys, please do consider subscribing. Really helps the channel. If you haven't hit the notification bell, hit that bell, guys. Our video get to you faster. You guys know how the YouTube algorithms work. It's really weird, even if you're subscribed, even if you watch our videos, you got to get those notification bell up, or ultimately you got to comment there to really be engaged. And this is such a competitive space in YouTube. you're competing with comedy videos, with shorts, with YouTube shorts, with different investing videos. But hopefully you guys appreciate this video. Again, hit that like button, subscribe, and we'll see each other on a beautiful, beautiful Sunday tomorrow. It's really hot today. Saturday. I'm gonna have a beautiful weekend here. Got some things planned out. Restaurant later today, a Singaporean restaurant. So let me know what you guys are doing. On the weekends. Do you guys like spend time with your families? Do you guys what do you guys do on weekends? Let me know in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious. So thanks for watching, guys. We'll see each other in the next video. Thank you very much. Thank you.